Awesome. I think we are good to go. All righty. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's discussion, The AI Revolution, How to Stay Ahead in a Changing Landscape. My name is Justin Meredith, the Digital Marketing Specialist here at Birdeye, and I'll be your moderator. And today we have a jam-packed discussion with you with amazing insights and analysis from our live panel, who I will introduce in just a second. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at your webinar dashboard so you know everything that we have to offer today. Your dashboard is full of some really cool tools and windows that you can use to get the most out of today's discussion. You can move these around, resize them, even minimize the ones you don't want to have open while we're talking. I highly recommend going over to the related content window and checking out some of the additional resources that we've put together to go along with today's discussion. You'll also have a chance to ask our panel any questions you might have. And to do that, go ahead and go into the Q&A window. It should be to the bottom left underneath underneath the slides there. But be sure to use the Q&A window and not the attendee chat window. Otherwise, we may not see it and miss your question. But feel free to use the attendee chat or the comment section to say hello, tell us where you're tuning in from, and just say hi. And so maybe even connect with some of the other audience members here today. So also, if you cannot stay for the entire discussion, don't worry, you will receive an email with a link to the recording tomorrow. And now that that is out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into it. And I want to introduce today's panel for you guys today. And up first, we have Ben Fisher. Welcome, Ben. How are you doing today?
Hey, Justin, thanks for having me, man. I'm doing great. Like I said, it's not a Friday, but happy Thursday.
Yeah, that's all right. Friday Eve, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So Ben, for those who may not know, can you tell us quickly just a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to lately within what you're working on?
Yeah, sure. I've been doing digital marketing before it was called digital marketing since about 1994. And I've worked in all sorts of industries. My company is Stay Demand. We're a local SEO company that focuses heavily on Google Business Profiles. And I've been involved in learning about machine learning and semantic web, since, probably 2013, I think is when I started in that. And as soon as I saw, OpenAI come out, I've been playing around with that and enjoying it tremendously. So yeah, that's happy to be here.
Cool. And this is not your first webinar with us today. You're also part of our local search expert series. And also who joins us on that series is Steve Wiedemann. Steve, how are you doing today?
Good morning. Great to have everybody on this webinar and be nerding out on ChatGPT and AI, and super, super excited. Like Ben, I've been in the industry a while. I've really enjoyed the community and the industry as a whole. And I don't think I'll ever do anything else. Unless ChatGPT has something to say about it, right? But I am CEO here at Wiedemann Consulting Group. We support multi-location brands that are trying to scale their visibility in maps and organic. Also an adjunct professor at UC San Diego and Cal State Fullerton, as well as Fullerton Community College. And I'm the author of SEO Strategy and Skills, a textbook that's now been adopted through Stukent by 38 universities and their online extensions. So excited to be here and grateful for the opportunity.
Awesome. Did you write that book with ChatGPT? Sorry.
Love you, Ben.
Awesome. Well, in addition to Ben and Steve, we also have two new faces to the Birdeye airwaves. And the first is Brett Tapke. How are you doing today, Brett?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on here. Kind of excited to be here.
Yeah. So since this is your first appearance, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I founded PubCon Internet Marketing Conference, one of the oldest conferences in internet marketing. In fact, I think we are the oldest. The only thing probably older might be South by Southwest, if you consider them a marketing conference. I don't. But there's that. And I also started webmasterworld.com, one of the largest forums online dealing with SEO and search engine matters. And I'm a programmer by trade, so jumping into ChatGPT was obvious. And I haven't been this excited since search engines first broke, the days of AltaVista and InfoSeek. So excited to be here and talk about it.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. And for our last panelist, we have Birdeye's very own Nate Chambers. Welcome, Nate. How are you?
Hi, Justin. Hi, everybody. I'm good. Thanks.
And can you tell us a little bit about yourself as well?
Sure. I am a computer scientist. I work in the field of natural language processing. I did my PhD at Stanford and finished there in 2011-ish. Yeah, 2011. I'm a professor of computer science, and I've been with Birdeye for 8 years now. When it was a small startup, really, and I joined to bring AI to Birdeye early on to pull information out of text. I've been working with GPT-like models for a number of years now before GPT kind of went viral, and now everybody knows what that means. I've been using it in research for quite some time, so I'm excited to talk about it.
That's awesome. Well,
it's
thank
funny
you
when I
all.
think about it. I'm like, you did natural language processing, and it makes me wonder if when you went to work for Birdeye because you thought you'd meet chicks. I don't know. Anyway, awesome. Let's move on.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining today. We have a ton to get into, and so I want to go ahead and get that started. And now, like we were just saying, the recent release of ChatGPT, Bing's AI, Bard from Google, there is so much noise around how AI will transform the business world, from making business and sales forecasts to automating personalized experiences throughout the customer journey to even reducing excess inventory levels and optimizing inventory stocking in real time. The expectations from AI are enormous. And today, we will talk about the impact that AI can have on businesses, both big and small. We're going to talk about where we will see the most impact realistically and what are some of the use cases where AI can contribute right away. We're also going to discuss the challenges of implementing AI and into an organization. And also, we're going to touch on how you can go ahead and get started in that process. Now, let's go ahead and jump right in with our first question for the panel today. And that is, what caused this explosion in AI? Because as you were just saying, Nate, it has been around for a while. You've been working on it for a while. Why, as you mentioned, ChatGPT kind of went extremely viral, bringing in over 1 million users within the first week, which I think broke all of the records for any sort of software adoption. But why is that? What caused this explosion?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nate, you can go ahead and get started.
I'll jump in real quick. So there's a number of things. There's GPT and other AI stuff, but the big thing that happened the past 10 years was hardware. We switched to utilizing GPUs, which before it was just sort of single core, multi-core processing. And these models are so large that we couldn't do what we're doing now using just the standalone servers and even clusters of computers that we had 10 years ago. And we had a lot of computing power 10 years ago. But GPT-3 and the like are so good because they're so large and trained on so much data that, frankly, hardware was one of the big drivers. There's, of course, lots of research and algorithms that have been developed as well. But that was kind of the turning point these past 10 years to me.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what are your thoughts?
In fact, just last week, Microsoft kind of let it slip that they had put almost $600 million into building the infrastructure for their implementation and for OpenAI, and it was almost exclusively buying GPUs. Very expensive, to buy leading edge GPUs. The other thing that happened after the hardware happened, we had ChatGPT 2 came out, and it didn't get a very big reception at all, and they were kind of disappointed by it. OpenAI has been around since, I believe it was 2015, late 2015 they were founded, and they put out 2 versions, and it just never went anywhere. And so last summer they stopped and they retrained. When they were retraining the data set for ChatGPT 3, the first thing they wanted to do was go through all these vertical parts of the web. And so the first thing they went through was programming, because who wouldn't? Because they're programmers. Who wouldn't want it all trained on programming? So they went through all the official websites for programming. Then they unleashed it, incorporated as much as they could from GitHub, which, is an open source repository. Most of it's filtered and peer-reviewed code base. And so ChatGPT 3 is released, and it has all these creative aspects to it, and it hits the programmers, and it codes very, very well. And if you go back and you look at those early days in November, 5 months ago, it was all the coders that kind of took the whole thing viral. So that's kind of where it started. And now we're into GPT-4 just this week, and it's a whole new era, just a whole new era.
Wow. Ben, what about you? What are your thoughts on what caused this explosion?
Well, I mean, Nate and Brett, of course, I think are 100% dead on. I like to look at it from the human aspect of things. Is, why did it, like you said, why did it go viral? And as people, we're always seeking new ways to be efficient, to be creative, to design things in a different way, or maybe get these kind of superhuman powers. And I remember when I was first playing with ChatGPT back in December, I think it was. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, it just gave me all of these superpowers. I was able to write a WordPress plugin in 10 minutes. A JavaScript program in literally, just a couple minutes, not even 30 secones. An outline for a book, a table of contents for a book. I've started on a sci-fi book. The prompt is huge, but anyway. But, just started down that path. It's like, okay, I've always wanted to write a book, so maybe this can help me. So it's that awesome kind of feeling that you get, again, it's these superpowers. And also it gives us efficiency from a business perspective, right? We're able to do a lot of things that are very time consuming, like research, for instance. Who loves doing research? Well, I guess researchers do. But it gives us the ability to just go and get our answer and get it quickly. And that's what we really want, right? Is we want that instant gratification. So I think that's what really allowed it. And also it was free. So it was highly accessible.
Yeah. And so despite ChatGPT and this type of technology only being around for 3.5, 4 months, it has already been making huge impacts. And so the next question I have for you guys is, where are we seeing these impacts first? Who was kind of the first crowd to get to start feeling this new technology impacting what they're doing?
Well, we started with small businesses because they saw the value, and every small business person I know has pain points. They never have enough time. They're doing everything. They're wearing 500 hats to get a single job done. So I saw a lot of small businesses really start to understand what ChatGPT could do for them. As kind of a personal assistant, emails, anything that is repetitive with content, they can do better. Well, maybe not better, but they can certainly do it faster with ChatGPT. So GPT. So I think small businesses are really the quickest adopters of it.
I agree 100%. And especially, when you think about the ability for a small business to move and pivot, where larger businesses have to incorporate processes and go through red tape to implement anything. The small business now has a competitive advantage, especially in marketing. You could ask your large language model, give me topic ideas for content that's going to drive more authority and traffic to my website. Help me get my page to appear more prominently in search results and get some really good ideas, from what that database has learned. Things like requirements for HR and legal. As a small business, you don't really know all those things. You know what you're good at, right, in terms of your product or your service, but you don't know every single part of how to run an effective business with HR and legal. And you could use these technologies to give you a list of things you need to pay attention to. And as Brett said, marketing, emails, text messages, data capture for your CRM, so many cool things that you can do as a small business that would cost you thousands of dollars of CRM costs and other things to try to do on your own. So I'm super excited to see how we create a community where small businesses can get together and learn how to leverage the technology to build effective and ethical businesses. But that part hasn't showed up yet. The tools are there, and there's a lot of searching you can do and a lot of questions you can ask, but there is yet repository somewhere of best practices or a way to kind of upvote ideas that might help businesses. So I'm really excited about that when it comes along.
Yeah. Ben, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so like Brett was saying, it was trained on a data set, specifically from like programming, right? So I think programmers are definitely in that bucket, more of the solopreneurs, I think, than anything else. Artists, I mean, you've got things like Midjourney that are out there. I mean, you've got this great picture of the robot helping grandma, you know. So it's like, how long did that take you to draw, Justin? I'm just saying, you know, what was it, a whole 30 seconds? You know, so we're able to do artwork very easily just by literally coming up with just a cool prompt. You know, musicians, you know, video, that's right around the corner. Anybody who is like doing video professionally, I think, is really going to be threatened by this, or they're going to start using the tools in an extremely efficient manner, and they're going to be able to get better. Their business is going to be able to explode because of that. Kind of like what Steve was saying is that small businesses, I think, are definitely next in line. Everybody's just trying to figure out, is it a threat or is it a tool? And the narrative is it's a tool. And, you know, even Bing is saying, or Google came out to say, it is a tool. It's not going to replace search. So, yeah. So anyway, that's who I think is going to get affected first.
I think if imagine this, you say, hey Bard, please surf the internet for any reviews about my business and do a sentiment analysis and tell me areas I need to focus on to improve my business next month.
We're very close to that, aren't we, Steve?
Yeah.
That's
super close.
That's just somebody wiring it all up to make that work. It's not a question if we have the technology. We do. It's just a question of making that complete circle and making it in a presentable package that you can use.
And wow, I just saved $45,000 a year from my sentiment analysis platform. That's incredible.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's you know, Nate, you could probably speak to this, you know, even more, but like that's right, kind of in line with what Birdeye is doing. You know, as you were saying, like AI has been in Birdeye's DNA, and so we're going to dig into that a little bit more about some of the capabilities on that side of things. But those are kind of the areas in which we're feeling the impacts of AI first. You know, these small businesses are able to take advantage of it. Artists, musicians, videographers are going to be feeling it soon as well. But if we zoom out, because this has only been 3.5, 4 months, where do you see the most impact coming when it comes to this sort of technology, whether it's various industries or businesses? What are your thoughts on who will be most affected by these developments?
I think it's going to be at the level of customer interaction with businesses. How does small businesses interact with their customers? How do big businesses interact? But I think these new AI tools are going to allow small businesses in particular to sort of act like big businesses, which might have this big budget of having people answering emails and all this, whereas small businesses don't do that or can't do that. These tools are going to enable you to be more efficient with your time. And I think we're in a new world where people don't want to call up a business on the phone. They want to send a text message. They want to do things quickly, and they don't want to be tied to like a 9 to 5 kind of hours, right? Where you try to contact a business and it's after 5, so they're not going to answer. People expect answers all the time right away. And I think it's the businesses who adopt these tools that are going to have the big impact, because they're the ones that are answering things at 11 p.m. at night because the customer asked a question by text, which is in their FAQs, and they've set up some language model, it doesn't have to be GPT, to reply with the correct answer, right? These are the kinds of things that are going to really, really, I don't know, thrust these businesses above the ones that aren't actually adopting these. And then I think the other side of it, right? So that's the interaction, but the other side is just being aware of what your customers are actually saying, right? They're not always talking direct to your business. They're, right? You guys just mentioned they're writing reviews and these sorts of things. There are review sites everywhere, right? What are they saying? What are they complaining about? This isn't like, are they happy or sad? It's like specifically, no, really, they didn't like the cashew in the salad you gave them yesterday, right? You want to be able to be aware of these things, and it's not just a one-off solution that's going to.
Yes, that's something I'm a little worried about too, is the control factor and saying, hey, I can just let everything go to AI, and that's my worry, is that while sentiment analysis is now going to be streamlined and easy, I hope that businesses know that they shouldn't be automating, the responses and the communications, because it'll destroy the heart and soul and the voice of the brand. They still should be using platforms like Birdeye and other to respond to reviews as humans, right, and not as robots, so that they get to know their customers and have that personal level. So I think that's a big part, the control feature of making sure we maintain control over the relationship with our customers and don't allow AI to replace us as a brand, as a voice, as personality.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with customer service being a big aspect of how businesses implement ChatGPT and AI in general. Microsoft's been talking about chatbots now for 6-7 years, and the capabilities of them are just going off the charts now. The ability to filter stuff and actually answer people's questions, get them what they need, the service they need. The other big place I see the AI impact is really on the web and content. When we look at the web, generally kind of the accepted level is anywhere from 5th or 6th grade US to 9th or 10th grade, depending on the website. That's the education level of the writing on the web. And now ChatGPT 3 was somewhere in the middle high school to early college years. ChatGPT 4 is very capable of putting out collegiate level writing. In fact, the release showed all sorts of certifications where ChatGPT 3 was in the bottom 10% of like the bar exam, is now in the top 90% of the bar exam. They showed over and over that was the case with all these certifications it's passed. So I think content on the web is going to really increase the quality, especially these big sites that have thousands upon thousands of products that have the same description as some other website, or they carry the same product as some other website, and they've just gotten the description from the manufacturer at some point. AI can upgrade all of that across the web. Some people think, if you pardon the expression, I think it was, who was it? Hank Green on TikTok. He's kind of the new Neil deGrasse Tyson. Hank said, AI won't drive the cost of content that much cheaper, but it will drive the cost of BS to zero, which is very true. It can generate massive volumes of content, but at the same time, it has stands to upgrade the quality of content that's out there. So I think that'll be a huge impact, is content on the web. And the other place it won't show up for a while is on the phones. Everything we do on the phone is now going to have AIs infused in it somehow. It's going to be better. And in fact, I think it was Monday of this week, 3-4 days ago, a story came out talking about Apple working on a new Siri. And in fact, they're talking about now just scrapping Siri and starting over because they called the code base for Siri the biggest piece of spaghetti written at Apple in 40 years. So I guess they're going to start from scratch with their AI. And they have a ton of AI people at Apple. So I think our phones are going to have a huge impact eventually.
I imagine too that you take 10 different heater repair companies that all exist in a city, and all of them are watching the news, and they all jump into ChatGPT, and they all write a page of content. Now we all have this amazing piece of content written by and maybe edited to pass, written by a human versus written by a computer, but we all have the same 10 page. Now we have to think ahead about how are we going to make our page more helpful to our users beyond just the text that we downloaded and maybe edited from an AI. And that means, really putting in some rich media and customer reviews and testimony, and maybe even some focus around awards and rich media like audio, like get your listen to this page feature on there. Maybe even some photos of the activity or the service in action so that you can see before and after. So you really, as a business owner, you have to imagine that in a year or two from now, every single one of your competitors is going to use this technology, and they're going to have the same page you do. What are you going to do to make your page more helpful? Start thinking about that, and some cues to do that, like I mentioned, rich media, some social proof things like your awards and reviews. So just as an industry, just start thinking about how can I be more helpful than just text.
Yeah, Steve, to that point, if I can I just want to agree with that wholeheartedly. I was looking at, I had a question about a septic system last night. This was just last night. I was looking up a question about using a garbage disposal with food and a septic system. And the first 3 pages I got all had the same introductory text. They had like copy pasted, from somewhere else. And so, there's this idea that we can just use GPT and it's going to fix that. But you're going to get 3 pages with a GPT explanation. And we're in the early days where people are excited. And so it seems like they're all going to be different. You get used to GPT's output. And I really do believe people are going to start having this red flag. This is a GPT text detector in their head. You can do a lot with it and it can be creative, but to Steve's point, it's this generic explanation that people are going to start. I really do believe customers are going to start hating it in some sense if it's used wrong, if you're not using it correctly for your business. Like, so, as Steve was saying,
are you going to create a Chrome extension so that I can filter out that content?
Yeah.
Well,
sorry, what was that?
So you can create a Chrome extension to filter out that content. So all the users of the world will have an extension that basically says, when you display a search result, filter out any search result where you've detected ChatGPT. So now your top 10 results will probably be 3 left, and then it'll go to the next one and skip those listings.
I think you should ask ChatGPT to program that, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead. Sorry.
Awesome. So we actually had a comment from Chrissy, and she says that 100% customer service will be impacted and improved. And this could ultimately expedite digital sales cycles for businesses that leverage it correctly. And I just thought that was a great comment, because that leads me perfectly into my next question, which is, what will AI's role in business look like? And so looking, 2 to 3 years down the line, what is a local or a small or even just a normal business? What does it look like? What is a business that utilizes AI, kind of almost like a lot or fully? What could that look like, further down the line? Steve, you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I think you could start with the marketing side. Take all those different aspects of your business, marketing in particular. Build me a marketing plan. Hey Bard, hey ChatGPT, write me a marketing plan to have a successful restaurant, just to build some inspiration. I think that's number one. The customer sentiment, I think, was also a really great idea to understand what you're doing right, and some areas you can improve on. I think looking at HR, finance, and all of those other aspects of running your business, I think that's gonna drastically streamline your day, to not have the weight of the world on your shoulders, because you know that there's something running in the background that's paying attention to those areas, and hopefully automating some of the ways to fix and improve them, or providing suggestions or feedback so that you know what you should be doing to improve all those different areas. I think in particular is the marketing automation piece. Right now we have Salesforce and Microsoft CRM. We've got all these HubSpot and other tools that are very expensive, especially for a small business that doesn't make a lot of money to be able to pay for these big CRMs. And thanks to some of this technology, I think we're going to be developing tools that allow us to do email thank yous and receipts and data capture and things that would normally cost us thousands and thousands of dollars. For small businesses, it's going to be more efficient. For larger businesses, it's going to be a transition before they can do something like that, and they'll eventually start building them in-house. So I think the big CRMs need to figure out a way that they can keep their costs down, because right now they're expensive as hell, especially Salesforce. As these larger businesses look at, wow, we spent $500,000 on CRM this year. I'll bet we could have invested that in our own, using some of this great neural processing stuff that's available now, and do something in house at that same cost. So I think it's going to change both sides, small business and the larger organizations. And who's going to feel it in the end? The consumer. Wow, this customer service was amazing. I got everything I needed. I got responses. I got emails. I got texts. I was able to get my service, my product super fast. I walked into the restaurant and my food was ready to go. And then I got a cool text message after I left, and I left feedback that went on their website, and they showed the picture that I took right there on their site. And they did all of that automatically. Wow, they must have a really good marketing guy. No, they've got really good marketing automation and AI, powering it.
I completely agree. Any place in the business process where you're generating content, text-based content, can be enhanced by AI. I don't mean rewritten or generated from scratch. It can be enhanced somehow. Run it through a rephraser, run it through to find the stuff you're missing. The latest version of ChatGPT 4 was heavily trained on the legal system. They went through all the court precedents, all the major court cases, and trained it on those. And it's very good at legal matters now, much better than ChatGPT 3. Going forward, just imagine how much small businesses spend on legal questions, everything from trademark registration to simple cease and desist letters, to errors and omission stuff, to knowing what type of insurance they need to have legally. All those things can be filtered through ChatGPT now, and saving a small business thousands upon thousands of dollars. When I think about my business, we're a small business. For 20 years, we've averaged probably 10 employees a year. Post-COVID, less than that, of course. But I would guess we've probably spent between $100,000 and $200,000 on legal fees. Much of that could have been eliminated by ChatGPT. Any place you have content that you generate content is going to be enhanced by AI. And it's getting so good. I know we mentioned earlier that people are going to have a filter. They're going to learn ChatGPT and see it, or learn AI and ignore it. Well, we did comparisons. I've got a paid talk I do on ChatGPT now. And as part of that, I did some research on copy detectors, AI copy detectors. And on ChatGPT 3, running it through 5 major AI content detectors, output was flagged 48 out of 50 times as probable AI content. ChatGPT 4, I ran the same thing yesterday, and only 21 got flagged. So that was 50 tests, only 21 got flagged. It's going to get better. It's going to keep getting better. ChatGPT 5, you simply won't be able to tell the difference between human written and AI written. It just might be more. There might be a little flag here or there, but for the most part, you're not going to be able to detect it.
We should repeat this webinar in a year and do this. I disagree with Brett. Let's do this a year from now.
Well, you can also now, because ChatGPT 4 can take so much text, you can throw half a book into it and say, okay, this is my writing style. From now on, write in my writing style. And it can. It's very good at picking up how you write.
That's one of the coolest things about it.
What if 10,000 users, fake users, are pushing and trying to influence ChatGPT's database by feeding it incorrect information over time?
Yep.
In the same way that's there's search query spam in Google, so that ChatGPT starts spitting out answers that were influenced by 10,000 fake people. That could get really weird. So I don't know where it's going to go.
That's a really good point, though. I mean, if you think about it, right? So these models are based on data. They're based on documents on the web. Maybe not ChatGPT, at least in this currently, read a website, but Bing definitely can. And Sydney in the background there is probably looking at every single prompt that's going in and probably learning from that. If you've got great machine learning going on in the background. So, that it's true. It could be a garbage in, garbage out scenario. And even for us, we were like, well, should people do reviews and do review responses with AI? And the answer comes down to is no, because then it's all AI. There's no customer interaction really happening at that point. And the same thing with content. If we're all using ChatGPT to write content based on older information, right? Doesn't that mean that the new content that's coming out is going to suck, basically? And what if you just have a cycle like that? So
there was some talk.
Just watch, take it one day at a time, right?
There was some talk that Bing was going to save every generated output from ChatGPT on Bing so it could compare it and see if it showed up on the web and discount it then.
Wow.
I did a search 2 days ago just for fun using Bing web search, and I asked for the best lawyers. And try this. It's a good activity for everybody. If you have the Bing access already, do a search and say, give me the best car accident lawyer in Los Angeles. And then I went to the chat feature and I asked the same thing, and I got completely different answers. So the top 5 results in web search versus the chat search for the same query were completely different. So our jobs as SEOs is going to get really interesting over the next several months. If it hasn't already impacted you, as people are starting to play with these tools, it's definitely going to, because the top search results were completely different, for both Bing Web and Bing Chat.
Oh yeah, completely. Actually, I did a little experiment while we were at PubCon because everybody was talking about AI. And so basically, my business partner lives there, and he goes to the best dance hall in Austin, right? So sitting there during lunch, and basically said, okay, went into Bing and said, where are the best dance halls in Austin? And it came up with a list, which again, like you were saying, is completely different than what it said on the web. Yeah. And then I showed it to my partner, and I was like, so what do you think about these places? He's like, that doesn't exist. That's crap. Oh, that one doesn't exist anymore either.
The chat or the web one?
The chat.
It was because the chat's from 2 years ago.
It was really well, no, this is Bing, so it's on real data. They're just bringing up things like TripAdvisor and Yelp, by the way, as sources. So, but yeah, it was actually wildly inaccurate when it comes to local search.
So
it's gonna get interesting.
As this rolls out even more, like I think, as we were just talking about, ChatGPT 4 just came out this week, and the capabilities that has is way more than what 3 could do. But it's not like it's limitless. And so my next question for you guys is, what are the limitations of AI right now? What can't it do? Nate, do you want to go ahead and get started?
Sure. That's the big question. I could talk for half an hour about, well, I could go more than half an hour if you want. I mean, should we start with philosophy, right? We're talking a lot about GPT.
We know it can kill John Connor. That's all, and we know that for a fact. It can kill John Connor. So
that's right. GPT is one type of artificial intelligence, right? It's a language processing system. I think it's an interesting thing to think about what is language and where it comes from. GPT kind of inverts the human condition in some sense, where humans think, we have cognition, we reason, we can represent things in our head and do complicated cognitive maneuvers on whatever it is we're thinking about, and then we can talk about it, and the language and the words we use are coming from rational thought. GPT is not doing that. GPT is just generating one word at a time based off of probabilities. And so there's this tendency, at least as humans, when we hear someone speaking, we know that's somebody, right? That's somebody that is thinking as well, because that's where it came from. GPT isn't thinking, right? It's just generating words one at a time. And so you might want to attribute thought, and cognition to this system, but it's not. In fact, it's not even planning what it's writing, what it's spitting out, right? GPT is generating one word at a time, and the third word it generates was unknown until it actually generated that second word, and then it loops back in on itself and makes another prediction. It's really quite amazing that it does what it does, and even researchers, top researchers in the field are actually quite amazed at its abilities. And so we can get into philosophy on, is it thinking or not? Most people say no. So I don't want to go too long-winded on this. What that gets to is AI is kind of narrow, right? So GPT is doing one thing. It's predicting one word at a time. That system is not going to, take a phone call and transcribe the audio coming through the phone into words, right? It's not going to do that, because that's a different thing. Hearing sound and getting words is speech recognition. That's also AI. That's a whole other system, and it uses a different model. It's trained in a different way. It's not GPT. Image recognition, whole other system. We've talked about reviews from customers, and like, how do you know that they're angry at you, or that your bathroom was dirty, right? How do we pull that out, that a dirty bathroom is bad, but that it's raining outside is also bad, but that has nothing to do with your business. So how do we know bathroom dirty is bad for you, but we can ignore raining, right? These are complicated things. That's information extraction, right? We do this at Birdeye. That's another type of system, right? These are all sort of siloed AI systems. And what can't AI do is combine these things into some cognitive thinking system that can do all of it at once, know when to switch context, know what you want. We can't do that now. We can't do it 5 years from now. There's definitely debate on will this happen, 10, 20 years from now. But right now, you need to be able to understand what it can't do, and that these are sort of simplistic little machine learning tools. And once you get a good grasp on what they are, then the challenge is how do you integrate them to be effective in your business? How do you put all these things together so that you can really excel?
Developers have their hands full for sure. I know too that that AI doesn't know your biology. If you were to ask a question about something like, help me find the best cologne that will drive my wife absolutely crazy, right? They don't know your sense, your biology. That they can't fix a health issue, because even with health records and blood tests and so forth, they still aren't at a point, at least yet, where they can determine the best way to cure yourself. So I imagine doctors and medical professionals are going to be using a lot of this technology to get clues and try to understand based on data. But everyone's biological background and DNA is so implicitly different. There's no way that right now you could count on AI to give you a good recommendation on how to cure an ailment or how to pick a cologne. That's something right now, and nothing, they can't do anything yet in the real world. It's all digital things, right? And I'd love to see a point in the world in 10 years from now where we do have, some sort of real life thing that's helping us. So when I come home, I can ask AI to make me a sandwich. That'd be incredible, but it's still so far off that, and so people are so panicked over technology in general. People are still skeptical over some of the voice assistants because they feel like they're listening to them all the time, and they don't want the privacy piece of it. Imagine when AI has physical, robotic representation. There's going to be so much skepticism and riots about that sort of thing happening because we've seen so many movies that's something AI can't do yet. It can't come into the real world, and it probably won't for a while because humans are scared of what we learned from movies. I think that's a big part of it.
But the speed with which this thing is learning is amazing to me. If you look at where we were with ChatGPT 3 in late November, and now they just introduced 4 this week, and during that interaction, they showed ChatGPT reading or interpreting an image off of a napkin to build a website. It interpreted an image of ingredients into a recipe and gave you a whole bunch of recipes that you could cook with all those ingredients. So we have all these little things, and we've got stuff going on in healthcare. Jeff Huber of Google, former Googler, his wife died of cancer tragically about 10 years ago. He said he spent over $3 million trying to beat her cancer. If they just would have caught it like 60 days sooner, she'd still be with us. So he started a company called Grail that took a machine learning algorithm that analyzed blood samples where they had the outcome from those blood samples later. And they found over 50 different tests they could run on that blood via machine learning to detect cancer so much earlier than anybody had ever detected it from a simple blood test. These little types of things are popping everywhere. And I see ChatGPT as being able to coordinate all this. When we look at online sites like Zapier, being able to connect all these disconnected websites together, ChatGPT is going to be able to connect all of this stuff like image recognition, and being able to wire it up into the real world via a robot is not as far off as I think you guys think it is. I think we're very close, very close.
I have to agree. I mean, I think the thing that what can't AI do is it can't mimic the human emotion, right, behind what's going on. So like if we look at it in business, just with reviews, we kind of discussed that in the green room, that, imagine a system that basically can, like you were saying, Breck, connect all the different dots between a customer. Like this customer has left a bad review. Oh, but they also chatted with support and talked about this experience that they had. And this support operator dropped the ball. And this support ticket never got answered. And now the system can tie all these things together and basically spit out something that says, oh, we're sorry, we see that you reached out to us at this point, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not going to be able to put the human element into that, at least not right now.
Mm-hmm. So as fast as this has gone viral and people are using it in so many different ways, there are still there are still challenges to adopting this, because it's one of those things where it's only as good as the data is being provided, as you were saying earlier. So let's dig into that a little bit more. And so what are the biggest challenges that you see when it comes to adopting AI from the business perspective? Or who might be in a better position to implement it? Maybe it's a big business versus a small business, or something along those lines.
I think it's going to be huge for small businesses.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to give them an advantage. Big brands are like these huge battleships with the itty bitty rudder. They can't move very quickly. They're not agile. There's so much red tape and so many decisions that have to be made. Whereas with a small business, they can kind of do it straight up on the fly. And, like, for instance, like we just had a meeting in-house to say, okay, what are we going to do with AI and what are we not going to do with AI? And we could be able to make that decision like instantly. Go to a larger, huge PR company, they're probably going to be talking about it for months and thinking about what are they going to do, because so many decision makers are involved. So yeah, I think the adoption to AI, it's going to take a lot of effort for a big business, but small businesses, I think they're going to be able to be agile and they're going to be able to compete, no problem.
I know the biggest challenge right now is knowing what to adopt into their business. What should I be doing? What's working for other businesses that are using AI? That kind of information, just isn't out there in a easy to find way right now. And that's why I brought up earlier, maybe there needs to be some sort of a small business community AI portal, for businesses to know what prompts to use, and to prompts that help develop a successful business case study over a course of 12 months, sort of thing. I think
I
that's
just
one
asked
of the biggest
ChatGTP. We're going to have that written here in about 30 seconds, Steve. We'll have that
Amazing.
up and running for you. We'll have that on our website.
Love it.
We'll pop that up in a heartbeat. But
And
I
since
totally
you
agree.
created that prompt, make sure you autograph it, because that's a good
As an NFT.
Exactly.
You're totally right. People just don't know where they place their money at right now, where to bet, because everybody's afraid of what we learned last month is going to be obsolete next month. And I spent all this time learning it, and I'm doubling down on it. And where we can really see this, at least in my space, dealing with SEOs, is you get on Twitter and there's a whole bunch of marketers and SEOs in complete denial about where this is going. They just think, oh, I can't use this. Google's going to detect it. I can't use this. It's terrible. Da, 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 da. I almost feel sorry for them because they don't know what they're missing yet. I mean, they don't know what they don't know. So they're doubling down on what they do know. And I think there's going to be a lot of them left behind that don't start adopting some of this stuff as we go forward from here on. So.
Well, I mean, you have that famous statement. I say famous statement now, Brett, and that is that in the SEO world, or I think in any industry, right? How's your saying go? It's that AI is not going to replace your job. Somebody using it will.
Yeah.
I think a great way to get started is doing something with it for personal reasons, so that you start getting acclimated to it. Things like asking for investment advice or budgeting help. Hey, ChatGPT, help create a budget for me based on these financial goals. Even silly things like help me write a poem that will impress my wife, or write me a love song with music about a girl who loves SEO. All sorts of really cool things. One thing I use it for every day, because I follow podcasts and blogs and articles. Like, I can consume content all day. It's addicting. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking those URLs, the podcast transcripts, the blog posts, the articles, and I'm saying, give me the top takeaways and action items from this content. And now, instead of half an hour to an hour of consumption, I get what I need in about 3 minutes or less. And that really speeds up my day. And my little half-hour personal development is now jam-packed full of the action items and key takeaways, instead of just listening to a lot of the fluff in between.
So Do you guys have any other tips on how to get started with it? Because as you were saying, Steve, it can be difficult to even know what's going on. And kind of having that repository of maybe prompts or kind of a small or local business community in which people can kind of play around with it and figure it out. So if you were a small or local business wanting to try to figure, or at least start experimenting, and you said to start, on the personal, start with your personal stuff and see what happens, and then go from there.
And
do you have any other advice?
Yeah, start searching for prompts. Do prompts for ChatGPT for my business, and start looking at ways that people are sharing that kind of content. Go to YouTube and do the same queries and see what kind of content's already out there. Change your filter in the search results to the last 30 days to get the latest and greatest, and not the things that were back when it first started. And maybe rinse and repeat and do that every month and see what kind of new things come up. Say every month I'm going to block out, half an hour, and I'm going to ask for these specific prompts that could help grow my business, and watch over the year as those prompts evolve. I think that's a really fun exercise, and something that keeps you remembering that you're trying to do something to improve your business, and using technology to help you do that instead of just creativity. And then combine the two, and hopefully it'll help you succeed in business.
Yeah, I think how a business gets started with AI, right? I think I agree. First, start using it yourself. Like I have a Chrome extension, for instance, that runs on Google, and it runs ChatGPT right in the sidebar. So I'll do a Google search, and then I'll immediately look over and be like, oh, chat, well, that's succinct. That's straight to the point. That makes sense. Okay. Oh, wow. I could ask this type of question or that kind of question. But maybe I think it's more like, war room your staff and say, okay, what problems do we need to solve? What can we do more efficiently tomorrow than we are doing today? And I think that actually is where it has to start. It has to start with that question mark, of what can we do? What should we do? Right? That comes down to an ethical question. Internally, it's like, do you want to be replaced by AI? Or do you not? Yeah, that's where I start.
So Nate, as we were talking about earlier, and you've been at Birdeye since for the last 8 years, and you came in to bring AI into Birdeye. And so I just wanted to see if you could tell us a little bit more about how that works, and how is AI already in Birdeye's DNA?
Sure, yeah. So Birdeye has a number of AI systems and products that address a lot of these things we've been talking about, as well as other ones that we haven't been talking about, which I think are not, to your previous question of how do you get started. I actually think there are things that you can't get started on by yourself as a small business. I mean, setting up some sort of semi-automated tool to respond to people sending you text messages, right? That's not something that a generic small business with 10 employees is going to be able to program up, right? At Birdeye, what we try to do is make these AI tools accessible and customizable to the business. So it's not just some generic AI, like GPT giving you an answer or something, but actually something customized to what your customers are saying and what you want to say back. We have a few things. I'll just give you a couple examples. So from the early days of Birdeye, we had Athena, and still do, which is our language understanding engine, which is spidering the web, finding all those reviews and comments out there on social media, on traditional, review websites, and pulling in what is everybody saying about you, right? Something, again, small businesses really just don't have the time to go out and find all of these. And then pull out those little insights, which I've mentioned a few times, what are they actually happy about? What are they upset about? And then putting it together. And there's this big part of AI, which we haven't talked about, which is kind of the data science side, right? If 100 people are talking about your salads, is that significant? How many customers do you have? It might not be statistically significant. Can you pull out little data insights after you've processed the language? So that's one of the big things Birdeye offers small businesses. In terms of customer interaction, we have Robin, which is your assistant to respond to questions that might come in, at 11 p.m. Over SMS, asking when you open in the morning, right? You should be able to automatically answer that, right? Harder questions will come in and we can flag them. You can respond yourself. We're already integrating things like GPT to give you custom responses so you can see, you can respond quicker, getting suggestions, customizing that response, and then shooting the reply from you as a human, enhanced. And then the big thing that we've been doing lately is kind of combining all these things into really tracking your customers and giving them what we call an experience score, right? Sarah Smith, she wrote a review about you. She purchased a couple things from you last month. She filled out one of your surveys and had some.
We were just talking about that. Yeah.
Some mixed scores. Like all these things combined, what does she think about your business? And do you want to offer her a coupon? I don't know, something like that, right? Some sort of enter it into your marketing campaign. All of these things are separate AI challenges. What did she say in that review? What did she mark in that survey? And then write in, a natural language sentence about you. And then combine them all into, hey, Sarah's, a 7, right, on this score. And so you like 7s. And so you want her to be an 8. So you send her some sort of marketing campaign. I don't want to go forever. It's probably good, right, Justin? There's more I could say. Perfect. We're integrating all these things and trying to be that place that you can go to learn about things you might not know are out there, and most importantly, customize these AI tools to your actual business, and have a tone, have a flavor that's your own, but enhanced and saving you lots of time.
Mm-hmm. So that was awesome. Thank you very much for that, Nate. So we only have a few more minutes, and I want to make sure that we can get into our questions because we have received some really good ones. But before we do that, I just want to go over some of the key takeaways from the discussion today. And Ben, Brett, Nate, and Steve, if you guys have anything else you'd like to add to this, feel free to. But what we have is, I think we have 3 number 1s, a number 2, and a number 3. They're all takeaways, but local businesses are in a prime position to benefit from generative AI. As we were talking about earlier, they can move more, they're more agile, they can be more flexible, and they can start implementing things immediately. Whereas, Ben was saying, these big companies are just giant battleships with a really small rudder, could make it more difficult to implement some of these things. The next takeaway is businesses that can customize tools to their niche market will excel. And being able to fully customize it to what you need and what you're doing can really help you maximize the benefit of it. It's also important to have a realistic understanding of AI's limitations. As Nate was saying earlier, it really is a pretty simple tool of predicting one word at a time one in front of the other. And so having an understanding of that and then knowing how to combine, that kind of technology with human efforts will help you benefit the most from it. Sort of like, those automated responses and stuff like that, using that to help you formulate a great response and then putting your own human element, that human touch that AI can't do into it will really help you maximize that. The next is AI will play a huge role in business to customer interactions. As we talked about earlier, it's, being able to answer those 1 in the morning, text messages about when you're opening, being able to not miss any opportunities because AI will allow you to capture all of that and, at least help you handle it as opposed to just not being able to see it until the next day or 2 days, depending on how much you're keeping an eye on things. And then the last is, as we just discussed, Birdeye has several AI tools to help you manage your online reputation and customer experiences. This is something that we've been in the space for a while now. So this stuff is not new to us, and I definitely recommend checking that out. Now, for our questions, we have received some really good ones, and I just want to go over those. And I'll ask the question, and one of you guys from the panel can jump in and take it, and we'll try to get through as many of these as possible. We still only have like 1 or 2 minutes, but hopefully we can at least get through a couple. And so the first question I have is, how do we get Bing access? As we were talking about that earlier, so you can kind of utilize that AI in the search. Do you guys, how would you recommend getting into that?
Sign up.
Get your name on the list.
Yeah,
exactly.
Download Edge so you'll know when you get it, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's random.
Yeah, I think it had me do.
I just got my access
Edge
like a week and a half ago.
Yeah, a lot. I think right now there is a wait list. I think this is the same case for some versions, some features of ChatGPT-4 as well. Let's keep moving. And so, as a business, how can we determine whether or not we need to have AI for a business? How do you, how would you approach looking at your business and understand and trying to figure out where you could use it and where probably you shouldn't?
Look for prompts. Start going to search engines and look for prompts, AI prompts, chat GPT prompts to help my business. Just start looking at those for ideas and inspiration.
I think also, what do you spend your time on? Like, think about what you're spending most of your time. Is it customer interactions? Is it responding to customers? Is it coming up with content for your website? Or is it more sort of human things? That's where I would look first. Where are you spending most of your time? And is it something that's along the lines of what we've been talking about today that might be enhanced with AI?
Any place you got a pain point that you're doing repetitive stuff over and over and over again, AI can help you come up with a flow chart to manage all that, templates to know, do I go left? Do I go right with this customer? Do they need a follow-up phone call or a coupon? So any place you got pain points in customer relations.
Awesome. Cool. And so for our last question, and then we will let you guys go, is as versions keep coming out, what are some key features that you think we can expect in later versions down the road? Kind of maybe just forecasting potential possibility. I mean, yeah, it's that's a big question, but like, what do you think? Like you were saying earlier, Brett, you were saying videographers, or Ben,
Right.
You were saying that, but video is going to be huge coming.
Yeah, video.
Yeah, NVIDIA's got their Maxine demo out right now. That's essentially a real-time translator. I mean, it's the Star Trek real-time translator that translates videos. So my voice, if you're listening in Spanish, my voice and my mouth will look like I'm speaking Spanish. You won't even be able to tell the difference. You could have 100 different people speaking 100 different languages online at the same time. It's going to be huge. It's really going to break down some barriers to translators. The second thing is audio to text, being able to interact with audio to text, whether that's a phone call or a Siri. I think that's absolutely what's going to happen before the end of this year, that ChatGPT is going to be able to be text-based. So,
I think
What about text to video, though? Text to video is going to be, I think, amazing.
Yeah, Microsoft just put out their version last week. So
yeah. So how long until we have a movie that is done completely just by text prompts?
Probably before the end of the year. NVIDIA has a commercial generator that'll do it for 30 seconds already. So,
oh my God.
I can't wait until it can do assessments, assess my current budget, assess my SEO, assess my email marketing. When it can do some of those assessments automatically, that's going to be a game changer, I think, for personal and for business.
And the stopping point there is going to be who has enough data to actually get that assessment. So make sure you're keeping all your data, even if it doesn't look like you're going to need it, or you don't want to keep all your data, all chart everything.
I think one of the big changes that's going to be coming is, how do you take a GPT-like model and apply it to your data, but in a privacy-oriented way? So how does a small business keep their stuff internal, not provide it to OpenAI, for instance, and still get a custom fine-tuned GPT model? This is the future where I see this going. When we figure out how to do that, that's going to be the next huge leap. You have these amazing systems which are now customized on you, but we don't want to then give all of our data to everybody, right? Your customer data is private. You shouldn't be giving your customer data out, right? And so that's going to be the really cool next thing in my mind. And I'm not certain who's going to do it. It might be OpenAI, but I think that's the big thing to look for in the future.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for the questions, and thank you guys for joining us today. It looks like that's the end of the hour, and I want to make sure that we can give everybody's time back. And so we're going to wrap things up. But thank you for tuning in, and thank you to our panelists for giving us your time. This was an awesome conversation. I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback and seeing what other conversations spur from this. And hopefully, to the audience, hopefully we were able to offer you some insight as to what is going on in the world of AI and help give you some direction on how to move forward. And if you'd like to learn more about how Birdeye can help automate your online reputation management strategy, and as well as make it scalable, email us anytime at events@birdeye.com. And and also be sure to give our panelists here a follow on LinkedIn. I believe that should be in their speaker bios. These guys are great. They post some amazing content. I love Ben and Steve's stuff. I see it all the time. So be sure to give them a follow. They're great. They're great, people to follow on LinkedIn for sure, and even Twitter. But yeah, thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Well,